Welcome to Mindleapic. Tonight, we will slowly travel to a quiet place far away in time, a place where the world moves gently, where the wind whispers across wide desert sands, where tired travelers rest beneath endless stars. This is a calm caravan night on the Silk Road. Before we begin, take a slow moment to settle in. Dim your lights, adjust your pillow. Let your body sink softly into your bed or chair. Allow the day to slowly drift away from your mind. If you enjoy peaceful historical journeys like this one, remember to like the video and subscribe to the Mindleapic channel. It helps this quiet corner of history reach more sleepy travelers like you. And if you feel like it, leave a comment below, telling us the city or country where you are listening tonight. It is always comforting to see people from all around the world resting together beneath the same calm story. Now take a slow breath in and gently breathe out. Allow your shoulders to loosen. Let your thoughts soften. Tonight, we will walk slowly beside a traveling caravan on the ancient Silk Road. Road that quietly connected distant lands. For many centuries, a road where merchants, animals, and wanderers crossed deserts, mountains, and quiet valleys. But this story is not about great battles or loud events. It is about a quiet night, a peaceful pause, a moment of rest beneath the stars. Our story begins as the long day of travel slowly comes to an end. The sun is low now. Its golden light stretches across a wide desert plain. Long shadows fall gently over the sand. The air has begun to cool after the long warmth of the afternoon. In the distance, a caravan slowly moves across the desert. From far away, the travelers appear like small moving shapes against the soft orange sky. The caravan is not in a hurry. Caravans rarely rush. Their rhythm is slow and patient, guided by the steady steps of camels, who have walked these desert paths many times before. Each camel carries large bundles on its back. Inside, the bundles are goods from distant lands, silk cloth from China, spices from India, glassware from Persia, tea leaves wrapped carefully in woven baskets, and small treasures that merchants will trade in faraway markets. The caravan has traveled for many weeks already, across dusty roads, across rocky hills, across wide deserts where the horizon seems endless. And tonight, they will rest. The caravan leader rides near the front. He is an older man named Farid. Farid has spent many years guiding caravans across the Silk Road. His beard is streaked with silver. His eyes are calm and watchful. He studies the land ahead carefully. Farid knows the desert well. He knows where small wells hide between dunes. He knows where soft winds blow in the evening. He knows which places are safe for a quiet night's rest. Now he slowly raises one hand. The caravan begins to slow. The camels gently stop walking. Soft bells tied around their necks give small quiet sounds as they settle. The bells are not loud. They simply mark the steady rhythm of the caravan's journey. The sun sinks lower. The sky becomes soft shades of orange, pink, and pale purple. Farid has chosen a good resting place. It is a wide, open stretch of desert surrounded by low, rolling dunes. The sand here is firm and flat. It will be easy for the animals to sit and rest. One by one, the travelers begin to prepare the camp. The camels kneel slowly onto the sand. Their long legs fold carefully beneath them. They sigh softly, happy to rest after the long day. Bundles are gently lifted down from their backs. Wooden crates, woven baskets, rolled carpets, leather bags filled with supplies. The merchants move calmly and slowly. No one rushes. Travel on the Silk Road teaches patience. A young traveler named Yusuf begins to untie ropes from one of the camels. Yusuf is new to the caravan, This is only his second journey across the desert. At first, many weeks ago, the desert felt very large to him. Too large, too quiet. But slowly, he has begun to understand its peaceful rhythm. The desert does not hurry. The wind does not hurry. And neither does the caravan. Nearby, two older merchants begin setting up a small cooking area. They place smooth stones in a circle to protect the fire from the evening wind. From a leather bag, one of them takes a small bundle of dry twigs collected earlier in the day. Soon, a tiny fire flickers to life. Its warm glow begins to dance softly against the growing darkness. The air is cooler now. The desert often becomes calm and cold after sunset. Yusuf helps spread thick, woven blankets across the sand. These will become sleeping places for the travelers tonight. Another traveler slowly fills a kettle with water from a carefully guarded supply. Water is precious on the Silk Road. Every drop is respected. Soon the kettle rests beside the fire. Soft steam begins to rise into the evening air. The smell of tea leaves drifts gently across the camp. The camels sit quietly nearby. Some chew slowly on small bundles of dried grass brought for them. Others simply rest, their large, calm eyes half closed. The sky above the desert slowly deepens into night. The first stars begin to appear. At first, there are only a few, small quiet lights shining far above. Then more and more stars appear. Soon, the sky becomes a wide ocean of tiny silver lights. Travelers on the Silk Road know this sky very well. The stars help guide their journeys. They watch the stars the way sailors watch the sea. Farid sits near the fire now. He pours warm tea into small cups made of clay. The travelers gather around quietly. No one speaks loudly. The desert encourages quiet voices. Yusuf takes a cup of tea and sits down on one of the blankets. The warmth spreads through his hands. The tea smells soft and comforting. He looks up at the sky. He has never seen so many stars before traveling this road. Back in his home city, lamps and houses filled the streets with light. But here, far from towns and cities, the sky feels endless. Farid notices Yusuf staring upward. "The desert has the clearest skies," Farid says softly. Yusuf nods slowly. "It feels very peaceful," he replies. Farid smiles gently. "Yes," he says. "The desert teaches us how quiet the world can be." The fire crackles softly. The tea kettle hums with gentle warmth. A cool breeze drifts slowly across the sand. And far above the quiet caravan, thousands of stars shine over the Silk Road. Tonight will be a night of rest. A calm pause in a long journey. A quiet moment beneath the endless desert sky, and the travelers of the caravan slowly settle into the peaceful rhythm of the desert night. The desert night grows deeper and calmer. The last colors of sunset slowly disappear from the horizon. The soft pink and orange glow fades into a deep blue sky filled with countless stars. The caravan camp now rests quietly between the low dunes. The small fire continues to burn gently in the center of the camp. Its warm light flickers across the sand, creating soft, moving shadows that stretch and shrink with each small movement of the flame. The travelers sit close to the fire. Some sip their tea slowly. Others simply rest in silence. Travel across the Silk Road is long and patient work. The days are filled with steady walking, careful watching of the road, and quiet attention to the needs of the animals. So, when night arrives, the travelers welcome the stillness. Yusuf wraps a light wool blanket around his shoulders. The desert air is cool now, much cooler than the warm afternoon sun. He listens carefully. The desert has its own quiet sounds, the soft shifting of sand beneath the breeze, the gentle snorting of resting camels, the small crackle of the fire, and sometimes, very far away, the faint call of a night bird crossing the dark sky. One of the older merchants slowly opens a wooden box near the fire. Inside are small cloth bags filled with spices, cinnamon, cardamom, dried ginger. He takes a small pinch of spice and adds it carefully to the tea kettle. Soon, a sweet and warm scent drifts across the camp. The travelers breathe in the comforting smell. Tea on the Silk Road is more than just a drink. It is a quiet tradition that marks the end of each long day. Farid sits calmly beside the fire. He watches the sky for a moment. His eyes move slowly across the stars, as if greeting old friends. He has followed these same stars across the desert for many years. They guide the caravans safely through wide-open lands where roads sometimes disappear beneath the shifting sands. Near the edge of the camp, a young camel handler gently checks the animals. He walks slowly between them, making sure their ropes are secure and their loads have been properly removed. The camels are large and patient creatures. Their long legs fold neatly beneath them as they rest. Some close their eyes. Others simply gaze across the quiet desert. Each camel wears a small bell around its neck. The bells are made of simple bronze. They create soft sounds during the day as the caravan moves. Now, in the quiet night, the bells only make an occasional gentle sound when one of the animals shifts slightly in the sand. Yusuf stands slowly and walks a short distance away from the fire. He does not go far. Travelers learn quickly that it is best to stay close to camp during the night, but he wants to look more closely at the stars. He walks to the top of a small dune beside the camp. From there, the view feels even wider. The desert stretches in every direction. Soft waves of sand roll across the land like a quiet ocean frozen in time. The stars above shine brighter than any lamps. There are thousands of them, perhaps millions. Some glow faintly, others shine like tiny silver sparks. Yusuf lies down gently on the cool sand. The desert ground still holds a small memory of the day's warmth. He places his hands behind his head and simply watches the sky. For a moment, the long journey disappears from his thoughts. There is only the sky, only the slow wind, only the quiet breath of the desert. Back near the fire, two merchants begin preparing a simple evening meal. They work slowly and carefully. One pours small grains of rice into a pot. Another adds dried lentils and a little salt. The pot is placed gently above the fire, using a simple iron stand. Soon, the soft sound of boiling water joins the quiet night. The smell of warm food spreads across the camp. Nothing fancy, nothing heavy, just simple food that gives strength for tomorrow's journey. Farid watches the cooking pot with a small smile. Simple meals taste better after long days of travel. Another traveler quietly unwraps a bundle of flat bread. The bread was baked many days ago in a distant village, but it is still good. Travelers on the Silk Road learn how to preserve food carefully. Every crumb is valued. One by one, the travelers gather again around the fire. Yusuf slowly returns from the dune and sits beside them. Farid hands him a small bowl of the warm rice and lentils. "Eat slowly," Farid says kindly. Yusuf nods. He takes a small bite. The food is warm and comforting. The spices in the tea still linger gently in the air. For a while, the travelers eat quietly. No one feels the need to rush conversation. The desert teaches people to enjoy quiet moments. The fire continues its soft glow. Above them, the stars slowly shift across the sky. Somewhere far beyond the dunes, the desert wind drifts through the night. A long journey waits for the caravan tomorrow. Many miles still lie ahead. More towns, more markets, more desert roads. But tonight, none of that feels urgent. Tonight is simply a moment of rest, a calm night on the Silk Road, a circle of travelers sharing warmth beside a quiet fire. And above them all, the endless desert sky watches gently over their peaceful camp. The night continues to grow quieter. The small cooking pot near the fire is now empty. The travelers have finished their simple meal, and the warmth of the food settles gently within them. One of the merchants carefully pours a little water into the pot and places it back near the edge of the fire. In the morning, it will be ready again for tea. Nothing is wasted on the Silk Road. Every object, every tool, every drop of water is used thoughtfully. The fire burns a little lower now. The twigs and dry wood slowly turn into soft, glowing coals. Their warm, orange light spreads across the sand like a quiet blanket. Yusuf sits comfortably on the woven blanket. The warmth of the fire reaches his feet, while the cool night air brushes softly against his face. He looks around the camp. The travelers have begun preparing for sleep. One man slowly rolls out a thick carpet beside a dune. Another carefully folds his cloak to use as a pillow. Travelers learn how to sleep comfortably even in open places like this. The desert may seem empty, but to those who know it well, it feels calm and welcoming. Near the camels, the young handler finishes his quiet work. He gently brushes sand from the animals' resting places. Then he places a small bundle of dry grass near each camel. The camels eat slowly and peacefully. Their long jaws move in a steady rhythm. Every now and then, one of the bells around their necks makes a tiny, soft sound. Not loud, just enough to remind the travelers that the animals are resting nearby. Farid remains seated beside the fire. He holds a small wooden cup in his hands. Inside the cup is the last of the evening tea. He drinks it slowly, enjoying the warmth. The desert night sky is now deep and dark. The stars shine even brighter. Without clouds or city lights, the sky appears vast and clear. It feels almost close enough to touch. Farid lifts his eyes upward. He quietly studies the familiar patterns of stars. For many travelers of the Silk Road, the stars are trusted guides. Long before maps were carefully drawn, the stars helped caravans move safely across deserts and mountains. Farid softly points to a group of stars. "Do you see those?" he asks Yusuf. Yusuf follows his gaze. "Yes," Yusuf replies. "They look like a small curved line." Farid nods. "Those stars help us know where the north lies." Yusuf watches carefully. He has begun learning many things during this journey. How to prepare a camel's saddle. How to pack bundles so they do not shift. How to watch the wind and read the sand. And now, slowly, he is learning the quiet language of the stars. The fire crackles gently. A small breeze drifts across the camp. The sand shifts softly around the edges of the blankets. One by one, the travelers lie down to rest. Their cloaks wrap around them like warm cocoons. The desert night may be cool, but the blankets and carpets keep the warmth close. Farid stands slowly. He walks once more around the camp, not because he is worried, simply because this is his habit. A caravan leader always takes one last look. He checks the camels. They are calm and still. He checks the fire. The coals glow softly but safely. He looks across the dunes. The desert is quiet. Satisfied, Farid returns to the fire and gently sits down. He spreads his own blanket beside the warm coals. For a while, he does not sleep. Instead, he watches the sky. Many years ago, when he first traveled the Silk Road as a young man, he often stayed awake like this. The desert nights fascinated him. The silence, the stars, the slow breathing of the camels. Even now, after many journeys, the desert night still feels peaceful. Yusuf lies nearby. He pulls his blanket up to his chin. The sand beneath the blanket feels soft and firm at the same time. He listens to the quiet sounds of the camp, the gentle breathing of the travelers, the faint rustle of cloth as someone shifts slightly in sleep. the soft wind brushing the dunes. Far away, somewhere beyond the dark horizon, a desert fox moves quietly through the night. But it stays far from the camp. Animals of the desert know that caravans bring unfamiliar smells and sounds. The firelight slowly fades as the coals settle deeper. The sky above slowly turns as the stars move across their ancient paths. Time passes gently, slowly, peacefully. The travelers sleep. Their long journey pauses for these quiet hours. The camels rest. The fire glows softly, and the endless stars continue their silent watch over the sleeping caravan on the Silk Road. The night moves slowly across the desert. The caravan camp remains quiet and still between the gentle dunes. The travelers sleep beneath their blankets, wrapped in warmth against the cool desert air. Above them, the sky is wide and deep. The stars continue their slow journey from one side of the sky to the other. Their light is steady and calm, shining softly over the resting caravan. The fire near the center of the camp has now become a bed of glowing coals. From time to time, a tiny spark lifts into the air and fades quietly into the darkness. Farid is still awake. He sits quietly beside the fading fire, his blanket wrapped loosely around his shoulders. Years of traveling the Silk Road have given him the habit of light sleep. Caravan leaders often wake during the night, not from worry, but from careful attention. The desert deserves respect. Farid lifts his eyes once more to the sky. The stars tell him that many hours of night still remain. The air is calm and the wind is gentle. It will be a peaceful night. Nearby, the camels rest quietly in the sand. Their large bodies form soft shapes in the darkness. Some are fully asleep, their long necks resting low. Others sit calmly with half-closed eyes. A camel slowly shifts its weight. Its bell makes a soft, single chime. Then the silence returns again. Farid reaches toward the fire and gently moves one of the glowing coals with a small stick. A faint flame appears for a moment and then settles again. He enjoys the quiet warmth. The desert at night feels very different from the daytime. During the day, the sun fills the land with bright light and heat. The sand glows gold, and the horizon stretches endlessly in every direction. But at night, the desert becomes soft and quiet. The air cools. The wind slows. The land seems to rest. After a while, Farid gently lies down on his blanket. He places one arm beneath his head and looks once more toward the stars. Slowly, his eyes close. The caravan sleeps. Time passes softly. The stars continue their silent movement above the dunes. Somewhere far away, a gentle breeze moves across the desert. It brushes the tops of the dunes, lifting tiny grains of sand and carrying them slowly through the night air. The sand moves quietly, like a soft whisper across the land. Hours pass. Gradually, the sky begins to change. At first, the change is very small. On the far eastern horizon, the deep darkness of night becomes slightly lighter. The stars still shine, but the edge of the sky slowly turns a softer shade of blue. The desert is preparing for morning. One of the camels lifts its head slowly. It stretches its long neck and breathes in the cool air. Another camel shifts beside it. Their bells give a few soft sounds that drift gently through the quiet camp. Yusuf stirs beneath his blanket. He does not wake fully yet, but the small sounds of the animals begin to reach his ears. The cool air touches his face. He turns slightly and pulls his blanket a little closer around his shoulders. Near the fire, the last glowing coals give a faint warmth. The camp is still mostly asleep, but the night is slowly ending. The eastern sky grows lighter. The stars near the horizon begin to fade. Soon, the first pale colors of dawn will appear. Farid opens his eyes. He has slept only a few hours, but his mind is calm and rested. He sits up slowly and looks across the camp. The travelers still sleep peacefully. The camels remain quiet and patient. Farid enjoys these early moments before sunrise. The desert at dawn has its own special calm. He stands and stretches gently. Then he walks slowly to the edge of the camp. The sand beneath his feet is cool and smooth. He climbs a small dune nearby. From the top, he can see far across the desert. The horizon is wide and open. The sky now shows the first soft gray-blue light of early morning. The stars above fade one by one. Soon the sun will rise, and with it, the caravan will begin another long day of travel along the ancient Silk Road. But for a few quiet moments more, the world remains peaceful. The desert rests between night and morning, and the caravan waits quietly beneath the fading stars. The desert morning begins very gently. From the top of the small dune, Farid watches the horizon as the sky slowly brightens. The dark blue of night fades into soft gray and pale silver. The first light of dawn spreads quietly across the desert. The dunes begin to show their shapes again. Long curves of sand appear in the dim light, like waves resting in a calm ocean. The air is cool and fresh. Farid takes a slow breath. These early moments are his favorite part of the journey. The desert is still. No footsteps, no voices, only the quiet land waiting for the sun. Far below the dune, the caravan camp rests peacefully. Blankets cover the sleeping travelers. The camels sit quietly where they rested during the night. A gentle breeze moves across the sand, lifting tiny grains and carrying them softly along the slopes of the dunes. The sky slowly grows brighter. Now, a faint touch of pale gold appears along the eastern horizon. Farid smiles slightly. The sun will rise soon. He walks slowly down the dune and returns to the camp. The fire from the night has nearly faded. Only a few glowing coals remain beneath a thin layer of soft gray ash. Farid kneels beside them. With a small stick, he gently moves the coals together. Then he adds a few thin pieces of dry wood that the travelers collected the day before. Soon, a small flame appears again. It flickers quietly, bringing a gentle warmth back to the camp. The smell of smoke drifts softly through the cool morning air. One of the camels lifts its head. Its large dark eyes blink slowly. Then another camel moves its long neck and stretches slightly. Their bells give small, quiet chimes. These sounds begin to wake the camp. Yusuf stirs beneath his blanket. He opens his eyes slowly. For a moment he forgets where he is. Then he sees the open sky above him, the dunes, the camels, the small morning fire, and he remembers the Silk Road, the caravan, the long journey. He sits up and wraps his blanket around his shoulders. The morning air is cool, but the fire nearby gives a comforting warmth. Farid nods to him. "Good morning, Yusuf," he says softly. Yusuf smiles sleepily. "Good morning." Other travelers begin to wake as well. One man stretches his arms and stands slowly. Another folds his blanket and shakes the sand from its edges. Morning in a caravan camp begins quietly. No one rushes. Travelers have many days of road ahead, so they move with calm patience. Farid fills the kettle with water and places it above the small fire. Soon the water begins to warm. The familiar morning smell of tea will soon fill the air again. Yusuf walks toward the camels. The animals watch him calmly. He gently pats the neck of one large camel that carried goods beside him the day before. The camel's soft fur is warm from the night. "Good morning to you too," Yusuf says quietly. The camel slowly chews a bit of dry grass. Its bell makes a tiny sound as it moves. Nearby, two merchants begin opening their travel bundles. They carefully check their goods. Rolls of silk remain tightly wrapped. Boxes of spices are still sealed. Nothing has shifted during the night. Everything is safe. This careful morning routine happens every day on the Silk Road. Travelers check their supplies. They check their animals. They check the road ahead. The kettle begins to hum softly as the water warms. Soon, Farid adds a small handful of tea leaves. The gentle smell of tea spreads through the camp. It mixes with the fresh scent of cool desert air. One by one, the travelers gather near the fire again. They sit quietly, holding warm cups in their hands. The sky above the desert now glows with soft golden light. The first edge of the sun slowly rises above the horizon. Its warm rays stretch across the dunes. The sand begins to glow softly, changing from pale gray to warm shades of gold and amber. The desert awakens slowly. The camels stand one by one. Their long legs unfold as they rise from the sand. The bells around their necks give gentle chimes as they stretch and shift. The travelers begin preparing for the day. Blankets are folded. Carpets are rolled. Bundles are tied carefully with strong ropes. Yusuf helps lift one of the crates onto a camel's back. He pulls the rope tight and checks the knot carefully, just as he has been taught. Farid watches the rising sun. Another day of travel lies ahead. More miles of desert road, more quiet walking, more peaceful nights beneath the stars. But for now, the caravan enjoys these calm morning moments. Warm tea, cool air, golden sunlight touching the dunes. Soon, the caravan will begin moving again along the ancient Silk Road. But the morning is still gentle, and the desert remains calm and welcoming. The morning light continues to spread slowly across the desert. The sun has now risen fully above the horizon, though it is still gentle and soft. Its early rays stretch across the rolling dunes, painting the sand in warm colors of gold and pale amber. The caravan camp is now awake. The quiet stillness of night has slowly turned into the calm movement of morning preparation. The travelers move unhurriedly. They have done this many times before. Every morning on the Silk Road begins in a similar way. The same quiet tasks, the same careful routines, the same calm patience that long journeys require. Yusuf stands beside one of the camels, tightening the final rope that secures a bundle of silk cloth to the animal's saddle frame. The silk arrived many weeks ago from a distant eastern city. It is wrapped carefully in layers of cloth to protect it from dust and sand. The bundle is light but valuable. Yusuf checks the knot once more. Then he gently pats the camel's side. The camel blinks slowly and shifts its weight. Its bell makes a soft sound. Nearby, another traveler carefully lifts a wooden crate filled with glass bottles. The bottles were made far to the west, in workshops where skilled craftsmen shape glowing glass beside hot furnaces. The crate is placed carefully onto another camel's back. Nothing in the caravan is loaded carelessly. Every bundle must sit balanced. Every rope must be tied firmly. A long journey across the desert requires careful attention. Farid walks calmly among the travelers. He does not rush anyone. There is no need. The desert road will still be there when the caravan is ready. He pauses beside a camel handler who is adjusting a saddle. The rope should sit slightly higher, Farid says gently. The young handler nods and moves the rope upward. Farid smiles. Small details matter on long journeys. The fire that warmed the camp earlier has now faded completely. Only a small circle of gray ash remains on the sand. One of the merchants carefully scatters the ashes. Soon the wind will carry them away. The desert always returns to its quiet, natural state after a caravan passes. Nothing remains for long. Yusuf finishes tying the last rope and stretches his arms. The cool morning air still lingers, though the sun is slowly warming the land. He looks across the wide desert. The dunes stretch far into the distance. Soft curves of sand rise and fall like waves. In the morning light, the desert feels calm and welcoming. Farid walks toward the front of the caravan. He studies the land ahead. There is no clear road carved into the sand. The Silk Road in this region is not a paved path. Instead, it is a memory of direction, a route remembered by travelers, a series of distant landmarks, a line of mountains far away, a cluster of low hills, a well hidden between dunes. Farid has walked this route many times. The desert may change its shape slightly with each passing wind, but the larger landmarks remain. He watches the sun carefully. The direction of the light helps guide the morning journey. Behind him, the travelers finish loading the last bundles. The camels stand patiently in a long line. Their tall shapes form a quiet procession across the sand. Each camel carries its share of the caravan's cargo: silk, spices, tea, carpets, precious goods that will travel many miles before reaching their destination. The bells around their necks hang quietly. Soon they will ring again as the caravan begins moving. Farid raises his hand gently. The signal is simple. It is time to continue. The first camel begins to walk. Its long legs move slowly and steadily. The bell around its neck gives a soft chime. Then the next camel follows, and the next. Soon the entire caravan is moving again. The travelers walk beside the animals. Some guide the camels by rope. Others simply walk calmly beside them. Yusuf takes his place near the middle of the line. The sand beneath his feet is firm this morning. Each step sinks slightly into the surface of the dune, but the ground holds steady. The caravan moves at a slow, patient pace. There is no hurry. Caravans often travel many hours each day, but always at this calm rhythm. Step after step, camel after camel, bell after bell. The sound of the caravan becomes its own quiet music. Soft footsteps in sand, gentle bells, the faint whisper of wind moving across the dunes. The sun slowly climbs higher into the sky. The morning light grows warmer. Long shadows stretch beside the travelers as they walk. Yusuf glances back once. The place where the caravan, camp rested during the night, is already fading into the distance. The wind has begun smoothing the sand again. Soon there will be no sign that anyone slept there. The desert keeps few memories. Farid walks steadily at the front. His eyes move calmly across the land. He watches the dunes. He watches the horizon. He listens to the quiet rhythm of the caravan behind him. This rhythm is familiar, comforting. For centuries, caravans have moved like this across the Silk Road. Traders, travelers, messengers, scholars, all walking slowly across deserts and mountains, carrying goods and stories between distant lands. But today, this caravan simply continues its peaceful journey. The sun rises higher. The sand glows warmly. The camels walk patiently, and the long line of travelers moves quietly across the wide and endless desert. The caravan continues its slow and steady movement across the desert. The morning sun has climbed a little higher now, though the air still holds a gentle coolness from the night. The sand beneath the travelers' feet glows softly in the growing light. The line of camels stretches calmly across the dunes. Each animal walks with a patient rhythm. Step, step, step. Their wide, padded feet press softly into the sand, leaving shallow footprints that the wind will soon erase. The small bronze bells around their necks ring gently as they move. The sound is quiet and steady. Soft chime, soft chime, soft chime. It becomes a kind of peaceful music for the caravan. Yusuf walks beside the camel he helped load earlier in the morning. The large animal moves slowly, its long neck swaying slightly with each step. Yusuf has begun to understand the rhythm of desert travel. At first, during his early days on the road, the long hours of walking felt tiring. The silence felt too large, the horizon felt too wide. But now the quiet movement feels calming. The desert teaches patience. It teaches steady breathing. It teaches the value of moving slowly and carefully. Farid walks at the front of the caravan as always. His eyes scan the distant dunes with quiet attention. He knows this region well. Many years of travel have allowed him to remember small details in the landscape. A slightly taller dune, a line of distant hills that appear faintly on the horizon, the direction of the wind. All these things help guide the caravan safely along its route. Behind him, the travelers follow without needing many instructions. The road of the Silk Road may not always be visible in the sand, but the experience of the caravan leader provides a quiet guide. The morning continues peacefully. The sun slowly warms the air. The coolness of dawn fades, replaced by a gentle warmth spreading across the desert. The travelers loosen their cloaks slightly as they walk. The camels continue their calm pace. Occasionally, one of them makes a low, soft sound. Another shakes its head gently, causing its bell to give a brighter chime. But mostly, the caravan moves in peaceful silence. After some time, the dunes ahead begin to change slightly. The sand becomes flatter. The waves of dunes grow smaller. Farid notices this immediately. He raises his hand slowly. The caravan does not stop, but the travelers understand the signal. They begin to watch the land more carefully. Soon, the reason becomes clear. Ahead, between the low dunes, small patches of dry grass appear. Tiny desert plants grow here, where a little moisture hides beneath the sand. The grass is thin and pale, but it provides a welcome sight for the caravan. It means the land here holds small traces of underground water. Places like this often appear along the long desert roads. Not enough water to form a large oasis, but enough to allow a few plants to survive. The camels seem to notice it too. Their steps become slightly more eager. Their heads lift toward the patches of grass. Farid smiles quietly. "This will be a good place for our midday rest," he says to the travelers nearby. Caravans often travel during the cooler hours of morning and late afternoon. During the strongest heat of the day, they rest. This rhythm helps both people and animals remain strong during long journeys. The caravan continues forward for a little while longer. The patches of grass become more frequent now. The ground grows firmer. Finally, Farid lifts his hand once more. This time, the signal means something different. Slowly, the caravan begins to stop. The camels kneel one by one. Their long legs fold carefully beneath them as they settle into the sand. The travelers begin unloading a few of the bundles. Not everything needs to be removed, only enough to allow the animals to rest comfortably. Yusuf helps loosen the ropes on the camel beside him. The camel lowers itself slowly onto the sand with a deep breath. Its bell gives one final gentle chime before becoming still. The travelers stretch their legs. Some sit on blankets. Others walk slowly among the camels, checking straps and ropes. The sun is now higher in the sky. Its light is brighter, but the gentle desert breeze keeps the air comfortable. One of the merchants opens a cloth bag and removes a few flat pieces of bread. Another pours water carefully into small cups. The travelers drink slowly. Water is always precious on the Silk Road. Every sip is measured. Yusuf sits down beside a small patch of dry grass. He watches the camels nibble quietly at the plants. Their wide mouths pull the grass gently from the sand. It is not a large meal, but it is enough to refresh them. Farid sits nearby on a folded carpet. He removes his sandals briefly and brushes the sand from his feet. Then he leans back slightly and watches the horizon. The desert remains wide and peaceful. The sky above is clear and bright. Not a single cloud drifts overhead. The silence of the land wraps around the resting caravan. For a while, no one speaks. The travelers simply enjoy the calm pause in their journey. The bells are quiet. The camels rest. The wind moves gently across the sand. And beneath the warm desert sun, the caravan enjoys its peaceful midday rest along the ancient Silk Road. The midday rest continues quietly beneath the wide desert sky. The sun now sits high above the dunes. Its light spreads across the sand in bright waves of gold and pale cream. The warmth of the day has slowly grown stronger, but the gentle breeze moving across the open land keeps the air comfortable. The caravan remains settled in the small stretch of grass between the dunes. The camels rest peacefully. Some continue to nibble at the thin desert plants. Others sit calmly with their long necks folded slightly downward, their eyes half closed as they relax. Their bells hang quietly around their necks. Only once in a while does a soft chime drift through the warm air when one of the animals shifts its weight. Yusuf sits on a folded blanket near one of the camels. He holds a small cup of water carefully in both hands. He takes slow sips, remembering the lessons the older travelers have taught him. On the Silk Road, water is never rushed. It is respected. Every drop matters. Nearby, two merchants sit together on a woven carpet. One of them unwraps a cloth bundle and removes several small dried figs. He places them carefully in the center of the carpet. The travelers nearby each take one. The figs are sweet and soft. A simple midday snack during the long journey. Farid sits beneath the small shadow created by a low dune. Though the desert has very few places for shade, the gentle slope of the sand offers a cool resting spot. He leans his back against the dune and watches the caravan quietly. This time of day is always slow. Caravans rest during the warmest hours of the afternoon. People relax. Animals regain their strength. The road will continue later, when the sun begins to move lower again. Yusuf finishes his fig and brushes the sand from his hands. He looks across the land. The desert stretches in every direction. The dunes roll softly across the horizon like waves frozen in time. He notices something interesting. The sand is not completely empty. Small tracks appear across the surface in delicate lines. Tiny footprints. Some belong to desert birds. Others belong to small animals that travel quietly during the cooler hours of night. Yusuf leans forward to look closer. One set of tracks forms a gentle zigzag across the sand. He wonders which animal made them. Perhaps a desert fox. Perhaps a small lizard moving quickly between the dunes. The desert may seem empty at first, but it quietly holds many forms of life. Each creature moves carefully in this wide land, just like the caravan. A soft wind moves across the dunes. The sand shifts slightly, smoothing the edges of the tiny footprints. The desert slowly erases the marks of travelers. Farid closes his eyes for a short rest. He does not fall deeply asleep, but he allows his body to relax. The steady rhythm of the caravan has taught him how to rest whenever the moment allows. Nearby, Yusuf lies back on the blanket. He folds one arm behind his head and gazes up at the sky. The blue above is wide and endless. A single bird circles high overhead. It glides slowly through the warm air, barely moving its wings. The desert sky often feels larger than any other sky. There are no tall trees, no crowded buildings, only open space. The quiet is deep and calming. The travelers breathe slowly. The camels rest peacefully. Time moves gently forward. After a while, the sun begins its slow journey downward. The light changes again. The bright white glow softens slightly into a warmer golden tone. The heat of the afternoon begins to fade. Farid opens his eyes and sits up. He studies the position of the sun. It will soon be time to continue. He stands slowly and stretches his arms. The sand slips quietly beneath his sandals. One by one, the travelers notice his movement. They understand the silent signal. Midday rest is ending. Soon, the caravan will walk again. Yusuf sits up and folds the blanket neatly. The merchants close their small food bundles. Water cups are emptied and stored carefully. The camels begin to stand. Their long legs unfold slowly as they rise from the sand. The bells around their necks give soft chimes once again. Bundles are checked. Ropes are tightened. Everything returns to its place. The small resting spot between the dunes grows quiet again as the travelers prepare to move. Soon, the caravan forms its familiar line across the desert. Farid steps forward. The first camel begins to walk. Step by step, bell by bell, the caravan slowly leaves the patch of grass behind. The wind begins smoothing the sand where they rested. And once again, the travelers continue their calm journey across the ancient Silk Road. The caravan moves once again across the wide desert. The afternoon sun hangs gently in the sky. No longer at its highest point, its light has softened, spreading warm golden colors across the dunes. The sand glows quietly beneath the travelers' feet. Step by step, the caravan continues its patient rhythm. The camels walk in a long, calm line. Their wide feet press softly into the sand. Each step leaves a shallow mark. Behind them, the wind slowly begins to smooth the surface again. The small bells around the camels' necks ring gently with each movement. Soft chime, soft chime, soft chime. The sound drifts through the open air like a quiet song of the road. Yusuf walks beside his camel once more. He has grown used to the slow rhythm of travel, the gentle movement of walking across sand, the steady sound of the bells, the peaceful silence of the desert. At first, the journey felt very long to him, but now he understands something important. On the Silk Road, the journey itself is part of life. There is no need to rush. Every step simply brings the travelers closer to their destination. Farid leads the caravan across the dunes with quiet confidence. His eyes move calmly across the horizon. He notices small details in the land, the direction of the wind, the shape of distant dunes, the position of the sun in the sky. All of these things help guide the caravan safely along its path. Behind him, the travelers follow the familiar rhythm. The desert is quiet this afternoon. The wind is light. The sky remains clear and blue. Only a few thin clouds appear far away on the horizon, like soft brushstrokes across the sky. Yusuf looks toward the distance. Far ahead, something new begins to appear. At first, it is only a faint line against the horizon, a darker shape where the sand meets the sky. As the caravan moves forward, the shape slowly becomes clearer. Low hills, rocky land rising gently from the desert floor. Farid notices it too. He smiles slightly. "These hills will guide us this evening," he says to one of the merchants walking nearby. The merchant nods. Landmarks like these are helpful during long journeys. The hills offer direction. They also sometimes provide shelter from strong winds. The caravan continues moving steadily. The sun slowly begins its long descent toward the western horizon. The light changes again. The dunes cast longer shadows now. Soft lines of shade stretch across the sand. The air becomes cooler once more. The travelers loosen their shoulders and breathe more comfortably. Afternoon slowly turns toward evening. A gentle breeze moves across the land. It lifts tiny grains of sand and carries them softly across the surface of the dunes. The wind whispers quietly across the desert. Yusuf glances up at the sky. The bright blue above has begun to soften. Hints of pale orange and warm gold appear. near the western horizon where the sun slowly lowers. The day is slowly coming to an end. Caravans often travel until sunset before making camp again. Farid studies the hills ahead. They are still some distance away, but the land between the dunes is becoming flatter. This will make a good place to stop when the sun grows lower. The travelers continue walking calmly. Some hum quiet melodies beneath their breath. Others simply enjoy the peaceful silence of the desert. The camels move with steady patience. Their long necks sway gently as they walk. Their bells continue their soft music. Time passes slowly. The hills ahead grow larger. Small rocks begin to appear scattered across the sand. Low ridges rise gently from the desert floor. Farid lifts his hand. The signal travels quietly down the line of travelers. Soon the caravan begins to slow. The sun now sits low above the horizon. Its light glows deep orange. The dunes shine with warm colors. Even the rocks catch the golden glow of evening. The caravan reaches a wide open space near the base of the low hills. The ground here is firm, a good place to rest for the night. One by one, the camels kneel once again. Their long legs fold slowly beneath them. Bundles are lifted carefully from their backs. The travelers begin preparing another evening camp. Yusuf unties the ropes from his camel's load. He stretches his arms after the long walk. The cool air of evening feels refreshing. The sky above continues to change. The sun slowly touches the horizon. Golden light spreads across the desert like a warm blanket. Soon the stars will return. Soon the desert night will grow quiet again, and the caravan will rest once more beneath the endless sky of the Silk Road. The sun slowly sinks lower behind the distant horizon. Its warm orange light spreads across the quiet desert, touching the low hills with a gentle glow. The sand reflects soft shades of gold, amber, and pale red. The caravan has settled into its evening camp. The camels kneel comfortably on the firm ground near the base of the hills. Their long legs fold neatly beneath them as they rest after the long afternoon of travel. Bundles have been lowered carefully from their backs. Silk cloth wrapped in soft layers. Small wooden chests. Baskets filled with spices and tea. Each item is placed gently on the sand beside the animals. The travelers move slowly and calmly around the camp. No one rushes. Evening on the Silk Road always arrives with quiet patience. Yusuf loosens the final rope on one of the saddle frames. The camel beside him breathes deeply and settles further into the sand. Its bell makes a soft chime before becoming still again. Yusuf stretches his arms and looks across the camp. The hills nearby offer a gentle protection from the evening wind. Small rocky slopes rise behind the caravan, their shapes glowing softly in the fading sunlight. Farid walks slowly through the camp, watching the preparations. He studies the sky for a moment. The sun is almost gone now. Soon the air will cool quickly. Desert evenings often arrive suddenly once the sun disappears. Two of the merchants gather small pieces of dry wood from their travel bundles. They place the wood carefully in a small circle of stones. Soon a small fire begins to glow again. The first thin flames rise gently, flickering in the calm air. The soft smell of smoke drifts across the camp. It mixes with the fresh scent of cooling desert sand. Yusuf sits down beside the fire. He watches the flames dance quietly above the wood. The warmth spreads softly through the cool evening air. The sky continues its slow change. The bright orange glow fades into deeper shades of purple and dark blue. One star appears high above the hills, then another, and another. Soon, the evening sky begins filling with quiet silver lights. The travelers gather near the fire. Some sit on folded carpets. Others wrap their cloaks gently around their shoulders. One of the merchants fills the kettle with water once again and places it carefully over the fire. Soon, the familiar sound of heating water returns, a soft humming beside the crackling flames. Yusuf listens to the sounds of the camp, the fire, the gentle breathing of the camels, the faint wind brushing the hills. The desert always feels calm at night. Farid sits down beside the fire. He warms his hands slowly. The long journey continues, day after day, but these quiet evenings offer a peaceful pause. Yusuf looks up at the sky. More stars appear each moment, without the lights of cities or villages. The desert sky shines brighter than almost anywhere else. The stars seem endless. Some glow softly. Others sparkle brightly like tiny silver lanterns. Farid notices Yusuf watching the sky. "The hills help us tonight," Farid says quietly. Yusuf turns toward him. "How so?" he asks softly. Farid gestures toward the dark shapes rising behind them. "They block the strongest winds," he explains. "The desert can sometimes become restless at night, but here we will sleep peacefully." Yusuf nods slowly. He enjoys learning these quiet lessons of travel. Each day brings small pieces of knowledge. The desert teaches slowly, patiently. Nearby, the kettle begins to steam. One of the merchants adds tea leaves. Another adds a small pinch of crushed cardamom. Soon, the gentle fragrance of tea drifts through the camp once more. The travelers each receive a small clay cup. They sip slowly. The warmth spreads through their bodies after the long day of walking. The camels rest quietly nearby. Some close their large eyes. Others chew slowly on the last bits of dry grass from the afternoon. Their bells remain still. Only occasionally does one give a soft sound when a camel shifts slightly in the sand. The fire burns calmly. Its orange glow flickers across the faces of the travelers. The hills behind them grow darker as night deepens. The sky above is now filled with stars, thousands of them, perhaps millions. The desert night feels wide and peaceful. Yusuf leans back on his blanket. He gazes upward. The stars stretch from one side of the sky to the other. It feels like a great, quiet ocean of light. The long road of the Silk Road continues tomorrow. More dunes, more distant towns, more quiet miles beneath the sun. But tonight, the caravan rests once again. The fire glows softly. The travelers sit in peaceful silence, and above the calm camp beside the hills, the endless stars watch quietly over the Silk Road. The desert night settles gently around the quiet camp. The fire near the center of the caravan burns with a calm and steady glow. The small pieces of wood slowly turn to warm red coals, giving a soft light that dances across the sand. The hills behind the camp stand quietly in the darkness. Their shapes are smooth and still beneath the star-filled sky. The wind moves softly across their rocky slopes and drifts down into the open desert. It carries a cool and refreshing air through the camp. The travelers sit peacefully beside the fire. Some hold warm cups of tea. Others simply rest their hands close to the warmth of the glowing coals. After a long day of walking across the dunes, these quiet evening moments feel deeply comforting. Yusuf sits with his blanket wrapped around his shoulders. He watches the slow movement of the flames. The firelight flickers across the sand, creating gentle shadows that move and fade. Beside him, one of the older merchants slowly opens a small wooden box. Inside are a few dried herbs gathered from villages along the road. He takes a small pinch and places it carefully onto the edge of the fire. A light fragrance rises into the cool night air. The scent is soft and calming. It reminds some of the travelers of distant gardens and quiet village courtyards, far away from the desert. Farid sits calmly near the edge of the firelight. His eyes rest on the dark outline of the hills. He listens quietly to the peaceful sounds of the camp, the gentle crackle of the fire, the soft breathing of the camels, the faint wind brushing the rocks. These are familiar sounds to him. He has heard them on many nights during many journeys. Travel across the Silk Road is long, but it is also filled with moments like this, moments of calm, moments of rest, moments when the world feels quiet and wide. Nearby, the camels lie comfortably on the sand. Their long legs are folded beneath them. Some have closed their eyes completely. Others sit with their heads raised, watching the night calmly. The small bronze bells around their necks hang silently. Only once in a while does a bell give a soft chime when a camel slowly shifts its position. Yusuf lifts his eyes toward the sky again. The stars shine brighter now than earlier in the evening. The sky above the desert feels endless. Without clouds or city lights, the stars appear sharp and clear. Some form gentle patterns that travelers have followed for centuries. Farid notices Yusuf looking upward. He points quietly toward a group of stars. That one is often called the traveler's guide, Farid says softly. Yusuf studies the stars carefully. They form a small, curved line across the sky. When caravans cross the deepest deserts, Farid continues, these stars help us remember our direction. Yusuf listens with quiet interest. The desert feels less mysterious each day he travels. Slowly, the road reveals its knowledge. The wind, the dunes, the stars. Each offers small guidance to those who move patiently across the land. The fire begins to settle into glowing coals. The warm light grows softer. One by one, the travelers prepare to sleep. Carpets are spread across the sand. Blankets are unrolled. Bundles are placed carefully beside each sleeping place. Travelers on the Silk Road learn to sleep comfortably in open spaces like this. The desert floor becomes a quiet resting place beneath the sky. Yusuf lies down on his blanket. The sand beneath him is cool but firm. He pulls the blanket gently up around his shoulders. Nearby, the camels remain calm and still. Their quiet presence gives the camp a sense of peace. Farid stands once more and walks slowly around the camp. This is his nightly habit. He checks the ropes securing the camels. He studies the surrounding hills. He watches the distant desert horizon. Everything is quiet. Everything is safe. Satisfied, he returns to the fire and lowers himself onto his blanket. The coals glow softly beside him. Their warmth spreads gently into the cool night air. The sky above continues its slow movement. The stars shift gradually across the darkness. Time passes quietly. The travelers fall asleep one by one. The desert wind moves softly along the hills. The fire fades into a small circle of glowing embers. The camels breathe slowly as they rest, and beneath the endless sky filled with quiet stars, the caravan sleeps peacefully beside the hills along the ancient Silk Road. The desert night grows deeper and quieter. The caravan camp rests peacefully beside the low hills. The small fire that once glowed brightly has now softened into a bed of warm embers. Tiny red lights flicker gently within the gray ash. From time to time, a small spark rises and fades into the cool night air. The travelers sleep beneath their blankets. Their breathing is slow and calm. After a long day of walking across the desert, sleep comes easily. The cool air wraps around the camp like a soft blanket. Above the hills, the sky stretches wide and dark. The stars shine clearly in the stillness. Thousands of them, perhaps millions, each one glowing softly in the endless night. Yusuf sleeps on his blanket near the fading fire. His hands rest loosely beside him. The steady rhythm of the journey has brought him deep rest. The desert has a way of quieting the mind. The wide space, the slow pace of travel, the peaceful silence, all these things allow sleep to arrive gently. Nearby, the camels rest in a loose circle around the camp. Their long bodies form calm shapes in the sand. Some lie with their heads resting low. Others sit quietly, watching the dark desert. Their eyes reflect faint starlight. Occasionally, one camel slowly shifts its position. The small bronze bell around its neck gives a soft chime. Then the quiet returns again. The hills stand silently behind the camp. Their rocky slopes hold the warmth of the day for a little while longer. But even the stones slowly cool beneath the night sky. A soft breeze drifts along the ground. It brushes the sand gently. Tiny grains move across the surface of the dunes. The desert never fully stops moving. It simply moves slowly, patiently. The stars continue their quiet journey across the sky. The familiar patterns slowly shift toward the west. Farid opens his eyes for a moment. Years of guiding caravans have given him light sleep. Even while resting, his mind remains quietly aware of the world around him. He listens. The camp is peaceful. The camels are calm. The wind is soft. Everything feels safe. Satisfied, Farid closes his eyes once more. Sleep returns quickly. The night continues. Far beyond the hills, small desert creatures move quietly through the darkness. A fox walks lightly across the sand. Its paws leave delicate footprints that the morning wind will soon erase. A small owl glides silently across the sky. Its wings make almost no sound as it searches the ground below. But these quiet visitors stay far from the caravan. They respect the unfamiliar shapes and scents of the travelers. Time passes slowly in the desert night. The stars slowly drift across the sky. The air grows slightly cooler. The embers of the fire dim even further. Their glow becomes faint and gentle. Hours move quietly forward. Then, slowly, the sky begins to change. At first, the change is very small. A faint gray light touches the far eastern horizon. The stars nearest that edge begin to fade. One by one, they disappear into the growing light of dawn. The hills begin to show their shapes again. Dark outlines slowly becoming visible against the pale sky. The camels begin to stir. One lifts its head. Another stretches its long neck toward the cool morning air. Their bells give soft sounds that drift gently through the quiet camp. Yusuf shifts slightly beneath his blanket. The cool breeze brushes his face. He pulls the blanket closer around his shoulders. But slowly, the small sounds of the waking desert reach his ears. The camels, the wind, the faint rustle of cloth as another traveler moves. Farid opens his eyes again. This time he sits up slowly. He looks toward the eastern horizon. The sky there now glows with a pale silver light. Morning is approaching. Another day on the Silk Road will soon begin. But for a few more quiet moments, the caravan rests between night and morning. The desert holds its breath in peaceful stillness. The hills watch silently. The stars fade gently into the growing dawn, and the travelers enjoy the final calm moments of sleep beneath the quiet sky. The first light of morning slowly spreads across the desert. At the edge of the eastern horizon, the sky glows with soft shades of pale silver and gentle blue. The darkness of night fades quietly, and the stars slowly disappear one by one. The caravan camp beside the hills begins to wake. The camels are the first to stir. One of them lifts its long neck and stretches slowly. Its bell gives a soft chime that drifts across the quiet sand. Another camel shifts its legs beneath its body and lets out a long, calm breath. The desert air is cool and fresh. After the deep stillness of night, the morning breeze feels gentle and light. Farid sits up from his blanket and looks toward the brightening sky. He has already been awake for a few quiet moments, watching the slow arrival of dawn. Morning in the desert always comes softly. There is no sudden noise, No rushing wind, only the gradual return of light across the wide land. He stands slowly and stretches his arms. The sand beneath his sandals is cool. Behind the camp, the hills glow faintly as the early sunlight begins touching their rocky slopes. Yusuf stirs beneath his blanket. The faint sound of camel bells reaches his ears again. He opens his eyes slowly. For a moment, he simply watches the sky above him. The deep blue of night has changed to a pale morning color. A thin band of golden light now rests along the horizon. He sits up and wraps his blanket around his shoulders. The air still carries the coolness of night, but the promise of warmth is already arriving with the rising sun. Nearby, one of the merchants begins gathering small pieces of dry wood. Soon, a small morning fire is built once again. The flames rise gently, bringing a warm glow back to the quiet camp. The soft crackle of burning wood joins the sounds of the waking desert. Farid fills the kettle with water and places it over the fire. Soon, the familiar morning ritual of tea will begin. The travelers move calmly through their morning tasks. Blankets are folded neatly. Carpets are rolled. Bundles are checked carefully. The camels slowly stand. One by one, their long legs unfold as they rise from the sand. Their bells ring softly as they stretch and shift. Yusuf walks toward the camel he helped care for the day before. He gently brushes a bit of sand from the animal's side. The camel blinks slowly and lowers its head toward him. "Good morning," Yusuf says quietly. The camel responds with a slow, peaceful breath. The kettle begins to hum as the water warms. Soon, the soft scent of tea leaves spreads through the morning air. The travelers gather around the fire with small clay cups. They sip slowly. The warmth feels comforting after the cool desert night. As they drink, the sun slowly rises above the horizon. Golden light spills across the dunes. The hills glow with warm colors. The desert awakens once more. Farid watches the sky carefully. He studies the direction of the light. He studies the land ahead. Today, the caravan will continue its journey beyond the hills. There are more miles to travel, more quiet roads through sand and stone. But there is no hurry. The Silk Road has always moved at a patient pace. The travelers finish their tea. The fire burns low again. Soon, the bundles are lifted onto the camels' backs. Ropes are tied. Saddles are checked. The familiar morning rhythm fills the camp. Yusuf tightens a knot and steps back to admire his work. The camel stands calmly beside him. The bells around its neck sway gently. Farid walks to the front of the caravan and looks across the open desert. The morning sun shines brightly now. The path ahead stretches wide and peaceful. Another day of quiet travel is ready to begin. He lifts his hand. The signal passes silently through the caravan. The first camel begins to walk. Step by step, bell by bell, the travelers follow. The caravan slowly leaves the quiet hills behind, and once again, the long, peaceful journey along the ancient Silk Road continues beneath the calm morning sky. The caravan moves slowly away from the quiet hills. Morning light spreads warmly across the desert. The sun has risen higher now, and its golden rays stretch across the dunes like long, soft brushes of light. Behind the travelers, the hills gradually grow smaller. Their rocky shapes fade gently into the distance as the caravan continues forward across the open land. The camels walk in their steady rhythm, step, step, step. Their wide feet press softly into the sand. The small bronze bells around their necks ring gently with each movement. Soft chime, soft chime, soft chime. The sound blends with the quiet whisper of the morning wind. Yusuf walks beside the camel he has come to know well during the journey. The animal moves patiently, its long neck swaying slightly with every step. Yusuf places his hand lightly on the rope that guides the camel. The rope feels smooth and worn from many journeys across the desert. He glances back once more at the distant hills. Soon they are little more than dark shapes along the horizon. The desert ahead opens wide again. Rolling dunes stretch across the land like calm waves. Some are tall and smooth, others are low and gently curved. Farid walks calmly at the front of the caravan. His eyes move slowly across the horizon. He studies the shape of the dunes. He studies the direction of the wind. He watches the sun rising higher into the sky. These small observations guide the caravan forward. Experience has taught him how the desert moves and changes. Behind him, the travelers walk quietly. Some hum soft melodies beneath their breath. Others simply enjoy the peaceful silence of the journey. The desert encourages quiet thoughts. The wide land allows the mind to rest. The morning air grows warmer as the sun climbs. The coolness of dawn slowly fades. A soft breeze drifts across the sand. It carries with it the faint scent of dry desert plants. Yusuf notices something interesting as they walk. Tiny patches of pale flowers appear between a few of the dunes. They are small desert blossoms, growing close to the sand. Their petals are light yellow and white. They survive on the smallest amounts of hidden moisture beneath the ground. Yusuf bends slightly as he walks past one. He smiles quietly. Even in the wide desert, life finds ways to grow. Farid notices the flowers as well. These appear after certain winds. He says calmly to the traveler beside him, "The desert sometimes surprises us." The traveler nods. The Silk Road is full of quiet surprises. A patch of grass, a hidden spring, a cluster of flowers where none were expected. The caravan continues forward. The bells ring softly. The sun brightens the sand. The flowers slowly disappear behind them as the dunes rise again. Time passes slowly. The desert stretches endlessly in all directions. But the travelers do not mind the long road. They have learned to enjoy the peaceful rhythm of the journey, step by step, mile by mile, bell by bell. Farid studies the horizon once again. In the far distance, he notices a faint, dark line stretching across the land. He knows what it is, another stretch of rocky ground where the dunes give way to firmer earth. Places like this often mark important points along the Silk Road. Caravans sometimes meet there. Travelers exchange news. Animals rest beside small wells hidden among the rocks. Farid does not speak of it yet. The caravan still has many quiet hours of walking before reaching that place. For now, the journey continues peacefully. Yusuf breathes slowly as he walks. The sun warms his shoulders. The breeze cools his face. The gentle ringing of camel bells surrounds him. He looks up at the sky. It is wide and blue once again. Not a single cloud moves across it. The desert feels calm, endless, quiet. The caravan moves forward through the soft waves of sand. Behind them, the hills have disappeared completely. Ahead of them, the long ancient road continues. And beneath the bright morning sky, the travelers walk patiently onward along the timeless path of the Silk Road. The caravan continues its calm journey across the desert. The morning sun now shines high above the dunes, filling the wide land with warm, golden light. The air is gentle and clear, and the soft wind moves slowly across the sand. Far ahead, the faint dark line that Farid noticed earlier slowly becomes clearer. It is a stretch of rocky ground rising from the desert floor. The sand begins to thin as the caravan approaches. Small stones appear beneath the traveler's feet. The dunes become lower and smoother. Yusuf notices the change in the land. He looks down at the ground as he walks. The sand is now mixed with patches of firm earth and scattered rocks. The camels continue their steady rhythm. Their bells ring softly with each step. The sound carries easily through the open air. Soft chime, soft chime, soft chime. Farid walks calmly at the front of the caravan. His eyes rest on the rocky ground ahead. Places like this are important along the Silk Road. They offer a different kind of resting place for travelers. Sometimes a well hides between the stones. Sometimes a small shelter built by earlier caravans still stands. Sometimes only quiet shade beneath large rocks welcomes the travelers. But every place along the road holds its own small story. As the caravan reaches the rocky stretch of land, the walking becomes slightly easier. The ground is firm. The camels step more easily without the shifting sand beneath them. Yusuf breathes slowly and enjoys the change beneath his feet. He looks around carefully. Small desert plants grow between the rocks. Their leaves are thin and pale green. Some tiny flowers appear here as well, protected from the moving dunes by the stones. The desert always finds quiet ways to support life. Farid raises his hand gently. The caravan slows its pace slightly. There is no need to hurry. The travelers have already walked many peaceful miles this morning. A small cluster of large rocks rises ahead. Their shadows stretch across the ground, offering cool shade beneath the warm sun. Farid smiles softly. "This will be a good place for another rest," he says quietly. The signal moves down the line of travelers. Soon the camels begin to kneel once more. One by one, their long legs fold beneath them. Bundles are loosened carefully. Some are lifted from the saddles. Others remain where they are. The travelers spread blankets across the firm ground. The shade from the rocks feels cool and welcoming. Yusuf sits down beside one of the stones. He places his hands on the smooth surface. The rock still holds a small memory of the night's cool air. Nearby, the camels rest peacefully. Some chew slowly on dry plants growing between the stones. Others simply sit quietly, enjoying the pause in the journey. Their bells fall silent once again. Farid sits beside the travelers. He watches the wide desert stretching behind them. The dunes roll gently toward the horizon. The hills they passed earlier are no longer visible. The caravan has moved deeper along the ancient road. The Silk Road has carried travelers like this for many centuries. Merchants, messengers, scholars, pilgrims, each walking slowly across deserts and mountains, carrying goods and stories between distant lands. Today, this caravan continues that same quiet tradition. Yusuf leans back against the rock and looks up at the sky. The blue above is wide and peaceful. A small bird glides far overhead, drifting slowly through the warm air. The desert breeze moves gently through the stones. The travelers rest quietly in the shade. Some close their eyes. Others sip small cups of water. No one rushes. The Silk Road teaches patience. The road is long, but the journey is calm. Farid closes his eyes for a moment of rest. The wind whispers softly around the rocks. The camels breathe slowly. The travelers relax beneath the warm sun. And far across the endless desert, the ancient road continues quietly into the distance. A road of slow footsteps, soft bells, warm sunlight, and peaceful nights beneath the endless stars. The journey will continue tomorrow, and the next day, and many days after that, step by step, bell by bell, across the calm and timeless sands of the Silk Road.